Hello Vault Dwellers, and welcome back for another Fallout Cookbook cooking video. Today I'm going to be making the Tato soup recipe from the Fallout Cookbook. The ingredients that we're going to need are 2 tablespoons of olive oil, 1 tablespoon of salt, and 2 teaspoons of black pepper that I've already gone ahead and combined in a bowl. The next ingredients we'll need are about half of a large sweet potato. I'm using a small Korean sweet potato, so that's why it looks kind of white. I'm just going to go ahead and use the whole thing instead of wasting part of it. You're also going to need half of a large russet potato. Again, I'm using about a smaller sized one that I had, and I'm just going to go ahead and use the whole thing. Roughly 1 medium carrot that I've cut into about 1/2 inch to 1 inch chunks. 3 whole tomatoes. These are heirloom tomatoes that I took out of my garden, but grocery store tomatoes work just as well. And you kind of want a larger sized tomato for this. We're also going to need 4 tablespoons of butter, or 1/2 of a stick. Here I've got 1/2 of a cup of diced yellow onion, 1/4 of a cup of diced shallots, 1/2 of a cup of a diced leek, and a small fennel bulb diced up. So that's all those. The next thing we're going to need is 1 teaspoon of dried thyme and 1 teaspoon of dried sage, as well as 1/4 of a teaspoon of red pepper flakes. Now, it's been my experience making these Fallout Cookbook videos that they use a lot of thyme in their recipes, a little bit more than what I personally care for. So today I'm only going to be using 1/2 of a teaspoon of thyme, as well as 1/2 of a teaspoon of sage, because the sage I'm using is the ground sage and not the sage leaves. I could not find those, so I've decreased the amount, and it should still give us the same flavor. And the last 2 ingredients that we need is 1 cup of vegetable stock. I'm using a homemade mushroom stock today, but store-bought works just as well as 1 cup of coconut milk. And that's all the ingredients. That's quite a laundry list of ingredients that goes into this recipe. And the first thing we need to do is set some of the stuff aside. And I want to get my vegetables oiled up and put into the oven on 400 degrees for about 45 minutes. So I'm going to start with the potatoes and the carrots first, because the tomatoes are a little bit more delicate. I don't want to toss those in with these harsher vegetables. I'm afraid they'll get all crushed up, and I don't want that. So I'm just going to hand toss these in the oil of salt and pepper. Make sure that they're all well coated. And then I'm going to transfer these onto an aluminum lined cookie sheet. And I'm just going to kind of spread them out so that they bake evenly. And I want to keep my potatoes and my sweet potato on kind of on one side. I'm going to put the carrots down the middle, and then I'll have the tomato on the other side. And you don't have to do it that way. You can mix them all together. But these are eventually all going to go into the same pot. I just kind of like to keep them separated. That's just personal preference. Alright, let me actually grab a little bit more oil to oil up these tomatoes with. I'm going to add just another tablespoon to it. Kind of mix the salt and pepper around. And then I'm just going to drop these right in there gently. Again, we don't want to crush these. We want these to roast down nicely without crushing. And I'm just going to give these a quick little toss in the olive oil. And this is just kind of to add a little bit of flavor to them, but to help prevent them from burning while they're in the oven. I think that looks pretty good. So let me move this out of my way. I'm going to bring my cookie sheet back over, and then I'm just going to dump the tomatoes right on this side. I'm going to spread them all out. I think that looks good. Alright guys, I'm going to pop this over into a 400-degree oven where I'm going to let these cook for about 40 minutes until the tomatoes are nice and roasted and the carrots and potatoes are softened. So I will see you when these are done. Alright guys, while the vegetables have another, I don't know, 5-6 minutes left in the oven roasting, I'm going to go ahead and get started on softening up our onions and fennel. I've already gone ahead and melted the 4 tablespoons of butter into the pan, and I'm just going to drop everything in. Alright, I'm also going to add in the thyme, sage, and the red pepper flakes, and we're going to just let these all toast in while the vegetables are sauteing. While I'm doing this, I'd like to remind you guys of the Gamers and Geeks playlist that JPEG and I have going on our channels. If you guys would like to be a part of that, it's really simple. All you have to do is go out and make a cooking video and post it to your channel, and once you've done that, just let either JPEG or I know in the comments section of our latest cooking videos, or if you are a part of our Discord servers, you can let us know over there as well. So, oh man, these smell good already, and they have just barely started cooking. It smells like fall. Not excited about fall. I'm much more of a spring, summer kind of girl. But I do love the smells and flavors of fall and winter. Alright, so I'm going to let these go for about 10 to 15 minutes, just until they are softened. I'm going to turn my heat down a little bit so that they don't burn. And I will bring you guys back when we're ready to add our roasted vegetables into the pot. Alright guys, it's been about 15 minutes and the onions are nice and translucent and the fennel has softened up quite a bit. So I think it is time for us to go ahead and add in our roasted vegetables. Alright guys, so I went ahead and flipped the vegetables over about halfway through the cooking time, just so that they got nice and roasted on both sides. And I'm going to go ahead and add in this tomato liquid as well, because that is just going to be more flavor that we are adding into our pot, which will end up flavoring our soup. Make sure you get all your vegetables in. Kind of an awkward angle to do this at, but I didn't want to obscure your guys' view from this. There we go. Alright, now that I have all those in, I'm just going to stir them around. I'm going to kind of break the potatoes up a little bit, just so they're not quite so chunky. Eventually we are going to be pureeing this into a nice smooth soup. We're also going to add in a cup of our vegetable broth. So about half of this is about 2 cups, give or take. There we go. And I'm just going to stir this all together, continuing to break down some of the larger chunks of potato, just so that they will start incorporating into our broth. So at this point, I'm going to raise my heat back up and let this come to a slight boil. And then we're going to reduce the heat and let it simmer for about 10 minutes. Alright, this has just started to come to a light boil. I am going to reduce my heat down to simmer and set my timer for 10 minutes. And I will bring you guys back when that is done. Alright guys, I've let the soup simmer for 10 minutes. And now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to turn my heat off. And I'm going to use an immersion blender to puree this. If you don't have an immersion blender, you can do this in a regular blender. You just want to be really careful when you do it, because hot liquids tend to kind of expand in the blender when you puree them, and you could get burnt. And you only want to do probably about a half of this at a time in your blender. Alright, so I will bring you guys back once I get this pureed down. Alright guys, I have got this nice and smooth. So all I'm going to do now is turn my heat back on to about medium. And I'm going to add in 1 cup of coconut milk. So I'm going to continue to stir this coconut milk in and get this heated through. And once that's done, I will bring you guys back and we will get this plated up, give it a taste, and see what we think about it. Alright guys, I've got this all plated up and I simply garnished it with a little bit of sliced green onion and some feta cheese. So let's get in here, give it a taste, and see what we think about it. Wow, that is really good. I think I'll definitely be making this one again. I like the addition of the fennel. It's not too overbearing. All the different vegetables kind of come through. I can taste the tomato, I can taste a little bit of the carrot, and I definitely get the potato and sweet potato. I would highly recommend making this dish if you're looking for something that's kind of going to stick to your ribs on a warm winter afternoon. I think this would be a perfect dish for that. I'm simply pairing it with some cat head biscuits that I made a little bit earlier. Remember to check out the Gamers and Geeks playlist as well as my Fallout Cookbook playlist. If you guys enjoyed this video, leave me a comment down below. If you guys tried this recipe out, let me know how it turns out for you. Thank you so very much for joining me today. I've been Vault Girl. I hope you guys have enjoyed, and I hope I see you in the next one.